and we're learning the inyanim of Mezuzah. The first basics ideas of Mezuzah. We need to be choker, what it seems like a real question. What is the mitzvah of Mezuzah? Is the mitzvah of Mezuzah to place it on the Mezuzat Abayit, which means on the doorpost? Is that the mitzvah? Or the mitzvah is to live in a house that has a Mezuzah? Now, Pashtut, everybody would say it's a mitzvah to live in such a place, not to be kovea, not to put it on the doorpost. But if that would be true, then we see that it doesn't work out well with the bracha, because the bracha is likvoa. Asher kitshanu mitzotav etzivanu likvoa mezuzah. And the bracha tells me a lot. Why? The Gemara in Shabbat wants to know whether the mitzvah of Nerot Chanukah is adlaka or anacha. What does the mitzvah? Shabbat kafbet. Adlaka osa mitzvah or anacha osa mitzvah? And the Gemara proves it from the bracha. The bracha is leadlik ner shel Chanukah. So you see from here that the adlaka osa mitzvah. The bracha itself tells you what is the mitzvah. So the same idea you can apply to here as well. The bracha is likvoa mezuzah. It's to actually put it there. And therefore the mitzvah is kviyat ha-mezuzah. And if that is true, then afterwards the mitzvah is done. So you're not mekayem anymore the mitzvah once you kovea. Same thing, for example, would be what Rav Shlomo Zalman brings down in Halachot Shlomo, Hilchot Tefillah, Perek Shlishi. Right in the beginning, in Hilchot Tzitzit, he says that the mitzvah of ma'akeh, what is the mitzvah of ma'akeh? You put a railing on high places in a house, like porches and so on. When you put the ma'akeh, the mitzvah is to put the ma'akeh, but there's no mitzvah afterwards. It's not a mitzvah nimshechet. In other words, there's no mitzvah to live in a house. When you live in a house that has a ma'akeh, you're not fulfilling a mitzvah with that. You're not going to feel, oh, I'm making a mitzvah every second because there's a ma'akeh in my house. Right? The mitzvah is actually to place the ma'akeh, and that's it. It's gone. That once you did that, it's over. And if you don't need to put a ma'akeh, then you're not making the mitzvah. So why mezuzah should be any difference? We see that mezuzah, it seems like for many, many places that you are mekayem the mitzvah of mezuzah afterwards as well. For example, the Yerushalmi says that mitzvat mezuzah mekayem mitzvah kol rega verega. When you have a mezuzah in your house, it's ticking. Your mitzvot are ticking. So you see, the mitzvah is not the kviyah. If that would be true, the bracha shouldn't have been likvoa mezuzah. It should have been that, if anything, is to enter. You say ladur bebayit sheyesh bo mezuzah, and we'll see it's not pashut. That maybe there is such a bracha. For example, Tosfot in Shabbat Kuf Lamed Aleph says, I'm quoting Lashon Tosfot, Sukkah, tzitzit u'mezuzah, bechol yoma mitchayev bahen. You are obligated every day in those mitzvot. Sukkah, so as long as you are at Sukkot, you are there, you mekayem the mitzvah all the time. It's a consistent mitzvah. Same thing with tzitzit, and same thing with mezuzah. Af al pi, the Tosfot says, afilu shekiimam hayom chayav lekayimam machar, which means it's a continuous mitzvah. So tefillim as well. Those are. What do you mean? On Sukkah you make a mitzvah every day. On Tzitzit you make a mitzvah every day. On Mezuzah not, and that is part of the question. For Vus, there's no mitzvah, there's no bracha. Why by Sukkah you say bracha every time you get in? And what's the difference between Sukkah and Mezuzah? Sukkah you say bracha every time you go in to eat. Mezuzah you go into your house, you don't say bracha. What's the difference Tzitzit? Every time you put Tzitzit, you say the bracha. Litatef betzitzit, and mezuzah you don't say beracha at all. Why is tefillin? You put the tefillin, you make a beracha. And mezuzah also you have hefsek. You left. You go. You leave the house. Oh, so you want to say that the mitzvah is that you should have mezuzah on your door. Not, yeah. Oh, you could. You want to say what the sport? You want to say what the Rosh says? It's brought down in the Bet Yosef. He brings down the question in Hilchot Birkat Torah Mem Zayin, Siman Mem Zayin. The Bet Yosef says, what's the difference between Birkat Torah, that once you said it in the morning, you covered the whole day, even though you go to work, you didn't learn. You go to work, you didn't learn. You come back in the evening, and you learn without Birkat Torah. Why is it by Sukkah? You say bracha every time you go in. You go out, you come back in, you want to eat, you say bracha. So he says over there that Adam eno, that's from Deri. He says that Adam eno mafsik, en lo shehut, הוא לא מתייאש, that's the לשון. He's not מתייאש from the mitzvah of Torah בכל רגע, which means every second of the day you are בעצם want to learn, or you're thinking about getting to learn as soon as you can. It's not a hefsek. Sukkah, you left your sukkah, that's it. You have nothing to do with the sukkah. You don't want to be in the sukkah right now. You want to be right now at the park. Nothing to do with the sukkah. When you come back, it's a new mitzvah. But Torah, you're always obligated. You always want to learn. You always would want to have the second that you get out of all your occupations and learn. So that could be also, you're saying over here, svara, we can say svara over here in Sukkah, in Mezuzah as well. A person is not mityaesh from his house. He wants to be in his house all day. He has to go, unlike the Sukkah.
It doesn't have to be there. His stuff is there.
Oh, very good, very good. So what you're saying is also this is I saw over here in the Sefer of Chaim Kanievsky. There's a Sefer called Dat Nota, and really that's the chiluk he says. He says that in a house, since you have your items there, your furniture, your things, so even if you don't live in a house, it's considered diur. It's considered that you are dar in the house. It's considered that you are still living in the house. Okay? בית יש לו שני סיבות לחיוב, דמשמש לדיורין ולאוצר. והשימוש לאוצר הוא חלק מתשמישי הבית. וכיוון שכן אף שיוצא מביתו מאחר שמניח חפציו, יש לומר דאקתי מחויב במזוזה דלא גרע מבית האוצר. Which means part of living in a house is having your stuff in a house. So even though you left the house, you still live in a house. What's the raya? You still live in a house. You have your things in there. Just like a person that goes to a hotel. You are right now in a hotel room. As long as you have your stuff there, you put your things there. So this is your room. You live in the room, even though you're not actually physically in the room. You live in that room. You staying in that room. You're right now by the pool, or walking in the boardwalk, and somebody calls you and they tell you where you staying. You tell them, in Hilton. What do you mean in Hilton? So you're now in Hilton. You're staying in Hinton. That's your place. Yes, even though you're not there right now. So that's what he says. Second thing is that this is be'etzem a way of living. In other words, even without our otzar, way of living, like we say by Sukkah, teshvu ken daduru. Over here also, part of living is you go in, you go out. You still live in a house, even without the first vara. You still live in a house. The way of living in a house is that you're not. It's not a jail that you have to stay there all the time. It's the Chazon Ish said about Sukkah. He said that a Sukkah is not a jail. Some people stay in a Sukkah all the time. If you don't want to stay there, if you feel very, very happy in a sukkah, tzaddikim feel very like they don't want to leave the sukkah, so they stay. They don't leave the whole sukkah, fine. But if a person really doesn't want, and he stays there because it's Sukkot and you want to be mekayem the mitzvah every second, but you're really like suffering there, so he says it's like sitting in a jail. Sukkah is not a jail. It shouldn't be like that. Okay, very.
Then if we're comparing it to Sukkah, when I leave, if I'm going to come back and again want to I have to make a new bracha, I would have to make a new bracha by the house as well.
So again, so by Sukkah, you don't live in the Sukkah. Person doesn't really live. Yes, but it's only tells you that you have to. Teshuvah can't do with anything. Tells you that you're allowed. It's a leniency to leave the sukkah and do other things. Teshuvah can't doesn't tell you you have to be in the sukkah all the time. It tells you you're allowed to leave the sukkah. You're allowed to get out of the sukkah whenever you want or need. You're allowed to travel. You're allowed to go to work. You're allowed to do different things outside the sukkah. But over here, a person lives in the house. Part of living in a house is going out, but he's still connected to the house. He still lives in a house. His mind is constantly. A person wants to be in his house. He wants to lie down on his sofa. He's very comfortable lying down in the sofa. If he needs to go right now and to work, really in his mind, in the back of his mind, unconsciously, he wants to be in the sofa. He has to go to work so he can provide money for the household. Okay, anyway. So we see that on one hand that the mitzvah is the kviyah, the actual placing the mezuzah on the doorpost. On the other hand, there's many ראיות. אשכול says מזוזה נוהגת בלילות כבימים ואין לה הפסק אפילו שעה אחת, which means the mitzvah is to live in such a place. So over here, there's beautiful raid that I want to share with you, but before, yeah.
There'll be a nafkamina. That boy, for example, turning bar mitzvah now.
Oh, so that is the nafkamina the Torah Lishma says, the Ben Ish Chai in Torah Lishma, very good, in Mechaven, in Siman Shin Zayin in Torah Lishma. He says what happened, he was asked, it's not, the Ben Ish Chai wasn't asked, but he writes it as he was asked, Yechezkel Kuchli, as he was asked. He says over there, what happens if a boy was, before bar mitzvah, he was, הגיע לגיל חינוך, and he puts a mezuzah on his door, and then he turns bar mitzvah. Does he have to take it out and re-put it, and be koveh again, or is yotze? So he brings, he posek over there, that you are yotze, and the mitzvah is to live in such a house, not to be kviyat mezuzah. And the raya he brings is that there's a Gemara in Yevamot that says that yalo banim begiyuto ve'yitgayer. Is he mekayem the mitzvah of purvu? A goy that was mitgayer with children. He had children from his previous life, and now he's mitgayer. He can't have any more children. He's too old to have children. His wife is too old to have children. Is he mekayem mitzvah purvu? So Gemara says, "There's machloket." Rabbi Yochanan says that is mekayem mitzvah purvu. I guess that's halacha, and this is what the Ben Ish Chai says. So you see that the mitzvah is actually. Don't ask me chilukim. He goes through a whole tshuva over there, but that's where he starts off saying that you see that the mitzvah is the kiyuma mitzvah, and not the actual asiyata mitzvah, and that's what brings us to. Oh, so let's see a beautiful raid. It's a lot what to speak. I don't know how much we'll be able to get to within the next half hour, but I want to take you through a beautiful Magen Avraham. Two Magen Avraham, Bakiva Igel, and we'll see the down this beautiful raid. So let's start with the Gishmak Magen Avraham first of all. Everything's Gishmak, right? The Gemara says Al Yomar Adam, Gemara Nida Al Yomar Adam, Sugya Zu Na'a, Vesugya Zu. The Gemara says over there Roeh Zonot Yabed Hon. What does it mean Roeh Zonot? Shelo Yomar Adam Zu Sugya Na'a, Vezu Sugya Ena Na'a. So you're not allowed to favor one over the other because everything is beautiful. But we're starting off something with a little bit midrash in the Magen Avraham in Siman Kaf Aleph in Orach Chaim Hilchot Tzitzit. He brings the Rama says that a person should not sleep with his talit katan. Don't go to sleep with your talit katan. It's not, I guess, it's a disrespect to go to sleep with a talit katan. Talit katan is chefetz mitzvah. So the Magen Avraham says, he brings the Bet Yosef that says, Anu lo shamanu mishikpid al zeh. There's no such thing, says the Bet Yosef. Nobody's makpid on lo ikpid al zeh me'olam. And moreover, according to the Arizal, there's an inyan to sleep with talit katan. Al pi sod, it's important to sleep al pi sod. It's shmira, it's all kind of inyanim that the Ari brings down. And the Ari uses a Gemara in Menachot, in the 4th perek, of David HaMelech. David HaMelech, a known Gemara, that he went to the Merchatz, to the bathhouse. While he was in the bathhouse, he saw himself without clothing, without the tzitzit, and he was in pain. He said, "Oy li shani aru min mitzvot." I don't have any mitzvah right now. I'm without any mitzvot. And then he saw that he has his brit milah, and he was happy that at least he had the brit milah. So the Arizal says, 1 minute, he could have used the same logic at night, because if you're not, according to the opinion that at night you're not chayav in mitzvah tzitzit, machloket Rambam and Erosh. According to that opinion of the Rambam that at night you're not chayav in mitzvah tzitzit, so at night also he didn't have tzitzit. He could have said, I'm empty from the mitzvot. Right now it's night. And then be menachem himself with the fact that he has brit milah. So this is the raya that the Arizal says that no, you see that at night you put the tzitzit.
He was sleepy. He was up from midnight till the morning.
Yeah, we're not talking about when he sleeps. We're talking about when you go to sleep, as soon as you're ready to go to sleep, right now, you're ready to go to sleep. You have do you wear a tzitzit?
And when he fell asleep, he said, you have to sleep. I'm saying there's no time. But his time was, I'm not taking a shower. Or we were thinking maybe I'll find a tzitzit.
At the night when he's ready to go, nothing. We don't have any problems with anybody that he's sleeping already. Already is machloket. What's the kula from not performing mitzvot while a person sleeps? It's machloket rishonim, whether it's anus, whether it's considered like a shoteh, whatever it is. But we're not talking about that. We're talking before you go to sleep. You go to lie down in your bed. So right now, do you have to have tzitzit right now, or you don't? You should remove it. The Ramah says, remove it now. You go into bed, remove your tzitzit. But once you remove your tzitzit, David HaMelech should have said, 1 minute, I'm removing my tzitzit, I don't have tzitzit. אוקיי, אז אני שומע, יש אומרים כמו שכבודו אומר. כן, ראיתי את זה. אבל what he says over here is that you see from here that there's a chiyuv to put a tzitzit. That's what the Arizal, not me, Ari. And the Magen Avraham says, 1 minute, let's go back to the Bet Mirchatz. Bet Mirchatz, what do you mean he was patur from mitzvot because David HaMelech felt patur min mitzvot because there's no mezuzah. Mashen ken in a house, he has a mezuzah. So right now he goes to sleep without a tzitzit, but he has a mezuzah. So you see from here that idea that we're talking about a mezuzah. He brings down that Gemara, and I want to take you. What? Yeah, in the Mechatz he didn't have a mezuzah, so he felt empty. But in a house he has a mezuzah. So you see from here that the Magen Avraham holds that the mezuzah is a mitzvah mitmashechet kiyumit, not mitzvah of the maaseh keviyah. Because if it was only the mitzvah kriyat mezuzah, so it's over already. So David HaMelech would still be feeling, I'm not gaining anything, I don't have a mezuzah. But rather, you see, it's a mitzvah like we brought from the Yerushalmi, from the Eshkol, from Tosfot, from the Meiri. There's many poskim like that. The Chinuch, Shulchan also brings, Kol Rega V'Rega, so that it's consistent. That comes out that this is the opinion of the Magen Avraham. Now let's go to another Magen Avraham, which speaks the same thing, but has over here a lot of depth. So Magen Avraham asks the question, why is it that by tzitzit, Halachot tzitzit now we're in Siman Yutet. Why is it by tzitzit that when you put your tzitzit, you say the beracha, but by mezuzah, you put it when you cover the mezuzah? You should be consistent. If you want to say that it's maaseh mitzvah, also tzitzit, when you tie the tzitzit to the beged, that's when you should say the beracha. Not when you wear it. That's kiyum mitzvah, not on asiyat mitzvah. Or say that if you make the beracha on kiyum mitzvah, like by tzitzit, when you're wearing it, it's also by mezuzah. Every time you walk in, say beracha. When do you say the beracha? On asiyat mitzvah, preparing the mitzvah, making the mitzvah available, preparing the mitzvah, echsher mitzvah, or when you're actually performing the mitzvah. That's what is called in Lomdish world. It's called in yeshivot asiyat mitzvah or kiyum mitzvah. Which one is it? When you're performing the mitzvah, that's kiyum mitzvah, or when you're preparing the mitzvah, that's asiyat mitzvah. This is the question that the Magen Avraham asked, not Tahan. Magen Avraham.
Only mezuzah. Only mezuzah.
He's asking on mezuzah. No, it's a general question. He asked this on the mezuzah. He asked this on the mezuzah. He asked this on the mezuzah. So he answers two answers. He answers two answers, very geschmack. Listen to this geschmack. The Magen Avraham says first answer, he says, first answer is less nogea to what we want to say. But he says first answer is that usually when you prepare the tzitzit, you do it before you're wearing it. You prepare the tzitzit, then one day you wear it. So therefore, the Chachamim told us, there's a Gemara, and Nifsak L'Halacha in the Rambam, that whenever there's mitzvot that you're doing, the bracha should be on the Gemar mitzvah. Whatever you do at the very end. Like for instance, tefillin, there's a mitzvah to write tefillin, the mitzvah to prepare tefillin, but you don't say bracha on all that. Only when you say the bracha, the Gemar mitzvah, when you're actually putting the Gemara, the Foreshet. And the Halacha in the Rambam, in Halachot Berachot. מתי שאתה, סוף המצווה. ספר לעשייתן זה עוד נקודה, זה לא נקודה שאנחנו מדברים עליה עכשיו. לא, עשיית המצווה, אם לא היה מצווה להניח תפילין, רק להכין ומספיק זה היה, אז היית מברך על עשיית המצווה. יש מצווה. אז התורה לא אומרת ככה, התורה אומרת שיש מצווה להכין תפילין. לדוגמה, אני אגיד לך, אבל הרמב"ם כותב במזוזה לדוגמה, כתוב וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, על וכתבתם. יש מצווה לכתוב, השולחן ערוך מתחיל את הלכות מזוזה, מאוד מעניין. זה דבר מעניין. מצווה תעשה לכתוב פרשת שמע והם שמעו לקובם על מזוזת הפתח, זהו, זה המצווה. אתה רוצה לדעת מה המצווה? בסדר, אבל מה המצווה? אבל יש מצווה לכתוב, הרי כתוב בתורה שיש, והשולחן ערוך פוסק את זה. אבל למה אתה לא מברך? נכון, למה אתה לא מברך? אבל כבוד הרב, למה אתה לא מברך על מצווה תעשה לכתוב פרשת שמע והם שמעו? אז חכמים לא אומרים מה שאתה אומר, אך זה גמרא מפורשת, זה מכיוון שזה לא כבר המצווה, זה כבר, אני לא, עוד פעם, אני עוד לא דיברתי, אני עכשיו רק אומר לכם מה כתוב בתורתנו הקדושה. הכל טוב. יש לך קושייה, אתה יודע מה, יש לך קושייה, הכל טוב. לפני כן היה לך קושייה על ארי, לפני כן היה על המגן אברהם, ועכשיו על הגמרא, אין לי בעיה עם זה. זה לא קושייה עליי, שיהיה קושייה עליי, אני אנסה להיכנס להגנה. אבל עכשיו הקושיות הן לא עליי. בסדר, עד כאן הם דברי הגמרא. עכשיו אנחנו מדברים פה על המגן אברהם. המגן אברהם בא ואומר לך תירוץ ראשון. First תירוץ. מגן אברהם says that there's a difference between ציצית and מזוזה. מנהג העולם, נוהג שבעולם. ציצית you prepare and then one day you wear it. So therefore it's not the גמר מצווה. מה שאין, כן? Let's read it inside. לכן נראה לי דסתמא דמילתא במזוזה קובע כשדר בתוכה, לכן מברך על עשייתה. אבל טלית מסתמא קובע בו ציצית עד שלא לבשו, לכן אינו מברך על עשייתו. Yeah? You only say the ברכה when you actually coming to wear it. מה שאין כן, במזוזה, he says, let's see the לשון, you get in and you put the מזוזה after you get in. לכן נראה לי שסתמא דמילתא במזוזה קובעה כשדר בתוכה. נוהג שבעולם, a person walks into the house, he brings his furniture, he goes in, and now he settles, he puts the mezuzah on the first day, but he puts the mezuzah. Tzitzit, נוהג שבעולם, a person prepares the tzitzit, and then he's going to wear it today, tomorrow. He doesn't wear it first, and then he puts the tzitzit. By the way, this is the question that Rav Shlomo Zalman asks. Beautiful. Listen to the question he asks. He says, בעיקר אך מילתא יש לדון, דמינלן שהלובש טלית מצויצת מקיים מצוות עשה בלבישתו. You wearing it, it's beautiful questions he has here. פרק שלישי, beginning of פרק שלישי, הליכות שלמה, הליכות ציצית. When you have ציצית, you have to put strings on the tzitzit. When you wear a tzitzit that you bought from a store, from a Judaica store, you're not mekayem a mitzvah. Lichora, you shouldn't be mekayem a mitzvah, because the Torah says that you have to put tzitzit on your arba kanfot. So if you have arba kanfot, you put tzitzit. That is the mitzvah, not to go and buy arba kanfot with tzitzit. Isn't that a beautiful question? Let me read it again. בעיקר חמילתא יש לדון, דמינהלן שהלובש טלית מצויצת, מקיים מצוות עשה בלבישתו. הרי אפשר שרק אם לובש בגד של ד' כנפות, שאין בו ציצית, הוא מתחייב בהטלת ציצית. רק אז הוא מקיים המצווה. אבל לאחר שכבר יש בו ציצית, דינו כנכנס לבית שיש בו מעקה בגגו, שלא נזכר בשום מקום, שמקיים מצווה בכך. So, there's no mitzvah to go to the Judaica store and buy ד' כנפות with ציצית. Doesn't make sense. Well, the Torah doesn't say that. It's an invention. The Torah says that if you have arba kanfot, it's like the markeh. You have a problem, the Torah says fix the problem. You have a keli that you bought from a goy, go fix it to tvila. You have a keli that the goy used, go and do agala. You have a arba kanfot. למשל זה ראיתם אותו. כבוד הרב, תנא. לא, דרשות תנאים עושים.
הוא ראיתם אותו. הקראים היו עושים את זה למעלה, אנחנו לובשים את זה. אם זה היה רק מצווה, אם זה היה רק מעקה לתקן את הגג, אז לא היה כתוב...
אני אגיד לך מה, אתה אני מקנא בך, כי אתה תמיד מכוון לדברי חכמנו. אבל אני אומר, זה חידוש. הוא אומר באמת, נראה שאף שאין לנו לדרוש קראי מעצמנו. מכל מקום פשוט הוא, זה פשוט. שבציצית דכתיב בו ראיתם אותו וזכרתם, מסתבר שזהו עיקר המצווה. שילבש בגד של ד' כפות שיהיו בו ציצית כדי שיראה ויזכור. אבל הקושייה is stronger than the answer, right? But you have to answer because there's definitely a mitzvah. We see that for many places that there is a mitzvah to wear a beged with dalet kanfot. Okay? So same thing is asking on mezuzah. Listen to the question in mezuzah. צריך עיון, מנהלן שהדר בבית שיש בו מזוזה מקיים מצווה בכל רגע. דילמה רק לקבוע מזוזה הוא דעה ומצווה, ואילו אחר כך רואים את הבית שיש בו מזוזה כבית שיש לו מעקה, זה לא מקיים כלל מצווה במה שהוא דר בתוכו. דאידי ואידי חובת הדר נינו. Which means the mezuzah it says, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך. You have to put the mezuzah in your doorstep. In your door post. But it doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that you have to live in such a house that has a mezuzah. So all you have to do is put it there, but you're not mekayem mitzvah afterwards at all. It's done. You have a problem. It's like you have a problem. You have a post without a mezuzah. It's a problem. I mean, also the Gemara calls it a problem because it's sakana. The Gemara says, why didn't you put a mezuzah? It's for two reasons. Rashi says either because mezuzah is to leyotze v'nichnas, that a person constantly goes in and out, and the Rambam explains that then he when he goes in and he sees mezuzah, so he thinks about a Kadosh Baruch Hu with the words that the Rambam brings over there that are very elevate the person very much when he goes in and he thinks about all these things. Or the Gemara says because of sakana of the shedim. The Gemara says in Bava Kama over there, the second perek, the Gemara over there of זה נהנה וזה לא חסר, Gemara says, ושיע יוקת שער, pasuk in the Navi, which means there's a certain shed called Shia, and yukat sha'ar, he goes in and he destroys the house. So a person puts a mezuzah, it's protection from such shedim. And therefore the Gemara says, it's open Gemarot. The Gemara says that where do you put the mezuzah? Betefach hachitzon. Why? Sheya nishmar. That you want the entire house, right from the very, very beginning of the post, to be already protected all the way in. But that could be the reason that you have to put a mezuzah. But once you put a mezuzah, it's just like you put a makeh. You're not continuing the mitzvah of living in a house that has a mezuzah. No such thing. Okay, we'll get to all this, but I want to take you back to the Magen Avraham. So the Magen Avraham asked the question, what is the difference between tzitzit and mezuzah? That in tzitzit, the mitzvah, the bracha is every time you wear it, and mezuzah is only one time when you kovea, when you put it in. What's the difference between the two? So we said one answer, but I want to take you to the second answer, and the second answer really opens for us a lot of things. But it's Shitata, Magen Avraham, not so many poskim, very, very few go with the Magen Avraham. Magen Avraham says, I'll read it inside because it's unbelievable that he says that, so it's better to see it inside. He says, יש לומר שמיד שנפסק, מחויב לפשטו ולתקנו, מה שאין כמזוזה, לא יטרחו רבנן לעקור דירתו, ואפשר. אפשר. תראו הדין במזוזה, אם קבע בו מזוזה קודם שדר בתוכו. כשנכנס לדור בתוכו, מברך אשר קידשנו במצוותיו לדור בבית שיש בו מזוזה. Which means, the Magen Avraham says, let's say you put a mezuzah before you came in to live in a house. You're getting married in another 2-3 months. And you happen to find an apartment. Amazing, right? Right when you got engaged, you find but it's another 3 months from now. So you grabbed it. Especially you live in New York. If you don't, even if it's not a good price, grab it. Even if it's not a nice house, grab it. Otherwise, maybe you'll find a place in they put now everybody in medicine high school. What is it over there? The shelters. Maybe you'll find a place in the shelters. Maybe F-show. But the house, apartment, so grab it. So you're grabbing it, and now you're coming in 3 months afterwards, after the wedding. Huh? לא, אתה לא מברך להתחלה, כי אתה לא דר שם ולא כלום. But there is, the poskim do bring down, many poskim bring down the Shevet HaLevi, Rav Chaim Kanievsky. Many say that if you put your furniture there, so then you should. But that's very questionable, but let's avoid that. The person didn't put anything yet. He didn't buy anything yet. He's not buying until another 2 weeks before the wedding. And the house is just staying there. So he's not putting a mezuzah. He put a mezuzah. I'm sorry. He was kovea mezuzah. Why? He didn't have a rabbi to ask. So he put a mezuzah. He thought that's the way you do things. He put a mezuzah. Then, at the day of the wedding, he goes in for the first day he lives there, and he says a beracha, says the Magen Avraham, ladur bebait sheyesh bo mezuzah. Afle vafele. You see from here that the kviat mezuzah is not the mitzvah again. Rather, Magen Avraham l'shitato, it's the living in a house. It's the nusach habracha. Ladur bebait, right? We said the nusach habracha tells us what the mitzvah is. Just like we. אז במגן אברהם, י"ט. אז בוא אני אגיד לך. כן, אז אוקיי, אז אנחנו נדון אם מותר לך להיכנס לבית שאין בו מזוזה, שהוא חייב. יש את ההר צבי שאומר כמוך, אלת הר צבי, the ארץ צבי. הר צבי זה פסח פרנק, ארץ צבי. He says that you're not allowed to walk into a house, not your house. You have a friend, you have somebody that you know is a yid. He doesn't have a mezuzah. He's mechuyav to put a mezuzah. You're not allowed to walk into his house. Okay, it's a chidush, but we'll deal with this maybe a different time. Let's just בוא תשמע מה אומר רבי עקיבא איגר. רבי עקיבא איגר says this. אגב עוד יום מה נראה לי לדין. רבי עקיבא איגר עם סימן ט' אור חיים. תשובות רבי עקיבא איגר. מי שיצא מדירתו לבית אחר לדור שם. You go to live in a different house. ויש שם מזוזה מכבר שאני עכשיו, זה מעשים בכל יום. You rented a house, there's a mezuzot over there. The previous tenant left you the mezuzot. He's not allowed to remove them. Or the landlord put a mezuzot over there. So you walk into his house, and then and now do you say bracha? You don't say bracha. Of course you shouldn't say bracha. What are you going to say? ויש שם מזוזה מכבר שניח שם הדר הראשון, שמחויב הוא לברך על המזוזה, שזהו מצווה חדשה לו בבית זה. וסייז רבי עקיבא איגר, ואף שהוא פשוט, this is a simple halacha, it says, פשוט like that, כמדומה נזהרים בזה ומצוי לשכוח. So people are mistaken, and they נכשל, they don't say ברכה. Says רבי עקיבא איגר, you have to say ברכה. What's the ברכה? Obviously, you can't say לקבוע מזוזה, you're not קובע. The ברכה should be like the מגן אברהם, לדור בבית שיש בו מזוזה. Says רבי עקיבא איגר, and more so. נראה לי. דגם הולך מביתו לעסקיו בשוק שעות הרבה. You go to work, few hours, many hours. You go from 9 to 5, it's many hours. ופעמים נוסע מעירו על איזה ימים. Even more so, what a person that goes to on a business trip or goes on a vacation. It's winter vacation. You come back in another week. You went to Florida. לכאורה הדין כשחוזר לביתו, יברך על המצווה. בינתיים שלא היה בדירת ביתו, לא היה עליו חובת מזוזה. הוא מתחיל עתה חיוב חדש. ויהיה כמו יוצא מסוכה לעסקיו וחוזר לסוכתו שמברך, הוא כמו פשט עליתו על דעת שלא להתעטף פה, שחוזר ומברך כשלובשו. צריך עיון לדינה. He ends up saying צריך עיון לדינה. My חברותא said, every תשובה in Rabbi Akiva Eiger says צריך עיון לדינה. It doesn't mean that it doesn't hold like this. No, Chacham Ovadia brings down that many times it says like, היה אפשר לומר לשונות of ענווה, but it doesn't, but למעשה this is how they posek. But למעשה, he holds that mamash the mitzvah is to to live in a house that has, just like the talit, just like the sukkah, just like tefillin. The mitzvah is to live there, not to be kovea the mezuzah. So,
the case of the Torah Lishma, did he mention that it should also then be, the kid was not bar mitzvah, he was mekayim, now he became bar mitzvah.
He's mekayim the mitzvah now. But this, no, he doesn't say that. This is a chidush that we found in the Magen Avraham. It's a chidush that we found in Rabbi Akiva Eiger. The Bnei Chaya holds like that as well. The other poskim, they don't say to such a thing that a person should say beracha. Many argue. So therefore, lema'aseh, we don't say beracha. But why don't we say beracha? Is it because of safek v'chot lakel? Is it because we hold that the kviyah is a mitzvah? Is it something else? So let's see. A very gishmak chida in Birkei Yosef. He brings down this Magen Avraham and he asks the following question: Zui kashe lechadesh bracha shelo nizkara b'shas ve'poskim. This is a very consistent claim in the poskim Sfaradim. You can't make up a berachot. Once Chachamim, only Chachamim will kovea berachot. Any bracha that you find afterwards, even brachot, there's questions on brachot that even the Arizal was metaken, the Kabbalah was metaken. Like the Shulchan Aruch brings down. What's the halacha on noten le'ef koach? The Shulchan Aruch says, I don't know if there is here. No, it's not. Okay, in Siman Mem Vav doesn't matter. Siman Mem Vav, the Shulchan Aruch says that lo yevarech bracha noten la'ef koach. We noeg to say the bracha. It's the Ari, but what's the claim? The claim is that you can't make up berachot after. So that is what the Chida is saying. ומתוך כך חידוש הוא שחידשה התורה דילה לברך ברכות מחודשות. וזוהי שקשה לחדש ברכה שלא נזכרה בש"ס ופוסקים. How is that possible? So then he brings the Yad Aaron. The Yad Aaron says the following. Yad Aaron brings down, Yad Aaron תריץ יתיב דכתיבת המזוזה כעשיית ציצית. קביעת כתיבת המזוזה, writing the מזוזה, that the Torah says, וכתבתם על מזוזות, it's the same as the tzitzit that the Torah says that you have to put tzitzit on your beged, right? The Torah says about the tzitzit that you have to put tzitzit on the beged, לעשות tzitzit על כנפי הכסות, because it says, ועשו להם tzitzit על כנפי בגדיהם. So this is equivalent, says יד אברהם, ממילא, יד אהרון, ממילא, כתיבת המזוזה היינו כעשיית ציצית, קביעותה, putting the mezuzah on the wall, כלבישת טלית. So this is what he says, and he's doche the Magen Avraham. He says the Magen Avraham is wrong because that is if you want to do the equivalency between, this the Chida brings down from the Yad Aaron. So listen to what the Magen Avraham says that the Chida says that Hadar Chakirat Arav min Magen Avraham lemkoma, because he argues over here and he says En ze maspik hare mezuzah chovat hatar. You have still chovat hadar. So therefore, when you walk in, it's not. He says he says to the Yad Aaron, it's not true. The mitzvah is not to be kovea the mezuzah, and this is the same as wearing the tzitzit. The mezuzah is chovat hadar. Tzitzit, the Torah says to put a tzitzit, but mezuzah, the Gemara says it's chovat hadar. It's a mitzvah to live in there. So mimele, what is the svara that how could you argue in the Magen Avraham? He's right. Magen Avraham says that this is the mitzvah to live in there. So you have to say bracha every time you walk in. So he says like this, the Chida. He says a chidush to argue on the Magen Avraham. He says that betzitzit, the mitzvah, as we said, you only say bracha always. It's a concept that is a gemara. It's not something that's arguable. The bracha you always say on gemara mitzvah, on gemara davar, whenever you end the mitzvah. When do you end the mitzvah? Only when you wear the tzitzit. That is when you end the mitzvah, not when you're tying, not when you're spinning the tviyah, the shazira of the chutim. This is all mitzvah of preparing, and it's a mitzvah. But the end mitzvah is when you actually put it on your body, and that is when you say the bracha. Unlike a mezuzah. A mezuzah, you prepare the mezuzah, you cover the mezuzah, and then we said the mitzvah is to live in the place, right? But he says that you're not mitasek in the mitzvah. And since you're not mitasek in the mitzvah, Chachamim, we didn't want to be kover bracha on something that you're not mitasek in the mitzvah. Let's explain. The wearing of the tzitzit, you're actually holding the tzitzit. You're touching it. You're taking it. You're putting it on top of you. You say bracha, and you place it on yourself. So you are osek in the mitzvah. Walking into the house is not, although that's a mitzvah, according to the Magen Avraham, and he agrees with that. You see, the Chida holds, it's true, the mitzvah is actually to live in the house, not to place the mezuzah on the wall, on the post, but rather to live in there. Okay, but Chachamim didn't want to be koveh on beracha on something that you're not actually osek in the mitzvah. You're just walking into your house. Why are you walking into the house? At the end of the day, you're walking into the house. Sukkah, the same thing. You're sitting in the sukkah, you're eating. The mitzvah is to eat. אוקיי, אבל יש הבדל, כי סוכה זה באמת דבר שניכר. בית זה לא ניכר, it's not ניכר. You're walking into the house, you're walking out. What shaykhus to the Mezuzah? It's not osek. It's things. It's not visible. The Bet Yosef brings down in Hilchot Biur Chametz that why the bracha is dafka on the Biur Chametz, not on the bitul, because it's not visible. It's not bitul. Bitul is in the heart. It's not visible. It needs to be visible. Let me tell you what it says in the Rambam. In the Rambam, there's few mitzvot that he brings down. Tefillin, tzitzit, tefillin shel rosh, tefillin shel yad. He's medayek like this. Tefillin shel rosh, the mitzvah is, says the Rambam, birkat tefillin shel rosh is al mitzvat, you say. Why? Because the mitzvah on the rosh, what does it say in the Rambam? It's the mitzvah that it should be on yourself. Because it says in the Torah, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. Let's see it inside. I have a Rambam here. When we open the Rambam, in beginning of Hilchot, Tefillin u'Mezuzah, he says like this. What's the mitzvah of tefillin? In the koteret of the mitzvah, which was written by the Rambam. Liot tefillin al harosh. The mitzvah is that you should have it on the rosh. Why? Because the Torah says, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך. It's not mitzvah asiyah. But again, there's a chiluk between asiyat mitzvah and kiyum mitzvah. The mitzvah on the rosh is the kiyum, not the asiyah. Because the Torah says, והיו לטוטפות. That's what the bracha that Ashkenazim say is al mitzvat tefillin. They don't say likshor or lehaniach, right? On the yad it says, in the Rambam, lekoshran al hayad. That's why he said the bracha lehaniach. Why? Because what does the Torah says? Ukshartam leot al yadecha. In Mezuzah, the Rambam says, likvoa mezuzah bepitchei hasharim. What's a mitzvah? To put it on pitchei hasharim. Why? Because that's what it says. Uchtavtam al mezuzot betecha v'sharecha. The mitzvah is not mitzvah that should be there. It's mitzvah to be kovea. And same thing with tzitzit. Tzitzit also, the Rambam starts off by saying, Da'ainu maaseh ituf. We'll be done on that because the Torah says, tzivanu la'asot tzitzit, shenemar v'asu lהם tzitzit al kalfei vigdeim. We'll be done on that, but let me just take you to this. The Rambam, although he brings down that the mitzvah is to be kovea the mezuzah, but the Rambam himself tells us how important it is that the person should have mezuzah on his door, and every time he's mekayem the zchirat Hashem, when he walks in, when he walks out. So we mentioned already what Rav Shlomo Zalman said. He says that by mezuzah שהיא להזכיר ייחוד שמו יתברך בכל פעם שנכנס ויוצא, לכן המזוזה היא עיקר ומקיים שפיר מצווה בכל רגע. מה שאין כן במעקה, when he compares it to מעקה, there's no mitzvah afterwards. But over here, the mitzvah is to be זוכר ייחוד השם בכל פעם שנכנס. So there's a mitzvah on the עשייה, to be קובע, and the mitzvah also on the קיום המצווה. And this is what Rav Chaim Kanievsky says in דעת נוטה. They asked him, תשובה ח' האם קיום מצוות המזוזה הוא בכל רגע שהיא קבועה בפתח? או דילמה אין קיומה אלא בשעת קביעה. כדכתיב, וכתבתם ומתרגמינן וקבעתם. You understand? When you say וכתבתם, מתרגמינן קבעתם. That answers our question. So he answers, הקביעות עשיית המצווה, והשהייה קיום המצווה. Which means there's two things in here. And same thing by tefillin, same thing by tzitzit. Just the question is when do you say bracha? So that's what we saw in the Chida, in the Magen Avraham. But you have two things. You have Asiyat mitzvah and you have Kiyum mitzvah. What's more important? So I saw in Sefarim different things, but there's the Shnot Chaim of Shlomo Kluger. He brings down, we don't have time now to go through the whole thing, but he says that there's a Ikar mitzvah, and he says, Ikar mitzvata mekayem kshedar bebeto veyesh ba mezuzah, im ken Ikar mitzvah mekayem be'atzmo. He's dealing with this very question of having the kviya compare with the kviya with the kiyum mitzvah, and he says that the kiyum mitzvah is the ikar. So you see, the way he talks is that there's a ikar but the not ikar is also a mitzvah. You say the beracha.
On the tefel and not on the ikar.
Oh, so according to the Chida, we said beautiful. According to Magen Avraham and Achinami. According to the Chida, he explained to us, he told us that lo nikar, you're walking into a house. You need to be osek in the mitzvah. So there's a lot more to speak over here, but this is the very, very beginning of this sugya. Chazak u'baruch.